Joining me now live to discuss the trial is Richard Mitry, partner at Mitry Lawyers. Richard, thank you very much for joining us. What do you make of the testimony that we've heard so far? We heard from Johnny Depp last week, Amber Heard this week. What are your thoughts?
Well, we're hearing some extraordinary allegations, and in this case, unlike many other cases, they're working two ways, right? So on the one hand, we have Amber Heard making allegations that Johnny was engaged in drug-fueled rages, breaking furniture, breaking walls, as we heard, physically and sexually assaulting her, and even whilst in Australia, threatening to kill her. And of course, the highly sensationalised allegation of a dog being held out of a moving car's window.
Yes.
And then in the days prior to that, we heard testimony of a dozen witnesses on behalf of Johnny Depp, where he's not only denied those allegations, but said he himself was the victim of abuse. So yeah, they're quite extreme allegations, and these aren't the first time we've heard these allegations either. And Depp sued the British Sun last year, and he lost that case because the Sun in that case actually proved many of these allegations were substantially true.
It has been fascinating to watch so far. What will both parties need to do to convince the jury?
Yeah, it's very different from Australian defamation law in that case. So a plaintiff, the person suing for defamation, would need to convince a jury in Virginia that not only were the statements made false, but because they're both public figures in this case, that those statements were also made with malice, as we heard, meaning intentionally false. So they knew the statements were false and made them anyways, or had a reckless disregard for that.
Do you predict perhaps a hefty fine for either of them, depending on the outcome of the trial?
Yeah, well, if either of them win, we could expect a very hefty damages bill. So as we heard, Depp is suing Ms Heard for $50 million US, and she's also countersuing him because of things said by his lawyer last year. And she's countersuing him for $100 million. Wow. So unless both parties lose, there's a good chance that we'll see a damages bill run into the tens of millions.
I've got to ask, why wasn't this a judge-alone trial? A lot of the evidence that's coming out is very personal and it's in front of a whole jury. Why wasn't this judge alone?
Yeah, it's a really good question. And it's actually the case, I get asked that question in Australia as well, because a lot of defamation trials in Australia are jury trials. And the reason that they are said to be jury trials is because defamation law, to prove someone has been defamed, in other words, their reputation has been harmed, is judged by community standards. Yeah, what are community standards, and therefore why is it that you dropped in those standards because of what was said? A jury is meant to represent the community. So as a result, they're meant to be objective. It's obviously extremely difficult when everybody all over the world is watching what's going on, but technically that's what it's there for, and they're meant to judge objectively by reference to community standards.
Well, it's certainly been interesting so far, and it's got the eyes of the world on one trial right now. Richard Mitry, thank you very much for your analysis this afternoon.
Thanks, Tony.